Hi everyone, these are the Raptor notes for Unit 7. Raptors are birds of prey. They tend to have talons that are designed just for that, eyes and beaks, all designed to help them be birds of prey. Their zygodactyl feet, 2 claws in the front, 2 claws in the back, help to grab, rip, tear prey. Their vision is some of the best in the animal kingdom. And their bills, whether it's for scavenging or for live prey, are really good for ripping and tearing any animals that they tend to catch or kill. So the first, one of the biggest groups is going to be the hawks. And two of the most common ones are going to be your red-shouldered and red-tailed hawks, who are a little bit more easy to identify with where the red is at. Now the Sharpies and the Cooper's hawks, they can look pretty similar, and it takes a really experienced birder to be able to distinguish those. But from a distance, they look very similar. There's some smaller hawks known as kites. They have, as you can see, a lot smaller bills, and they tend to be birds that hunt after smaller prey and insects. Our eagles, we have the occasional bald eagle and golden eagles that are around our locations. Much, much larger birds of prey. Vultures are also in this group, although they're not going to hunt after living prey. They tend to scavenge, but they're very well designed for that. They have the really sharp bills, good for tearing flesh from any carrion, which is like dead organisms. And we have two major kinds here in North Carolina. There's the turkey vulture, which you're probably familiar with. They have the red colored head, and the black vulture, which has a black colored head. But from below, you can tend to tell the difference between the two, because the turkey vulture has a lot more white feathers underneath. Now their heads are actually bald and not covered with feathers, because as they're eating the dead animals, the lack of feathers on their head helps to keep them clean from any potential bacterias and anything else that's found on that dead animal. And their stomachs are really good at dissolving things like bone and tough tissue. Ospreys are often called seahawks. They're not quite as related to the other hawks, but they are pretty much in their own group. They have similar feet with those zygodactyl claws, a really effective beak for shredding things, and they are really good predators for fish. They tend to live around aquatic habitats and hunt most often fish in these areas, and there are actually a lot of good online cams that you can check out that show you osprey nests and their local habitats here. Falcons tend to be smaller than hawks, at least most of them. You can get very tiny hawks like this kestrel or merlin here. The peregrine is a little bit larger, and the peregrine is actually the fastest bird in the world, and arguably the fastest animal, even though the top speed is while it's diving. And it's got a lot of really good adaptations for that, like the way its head is designed and the way the air flows through the nose. And they tend to kill with their talons instead of their beaks. So how you can tell the difference between some of these birds, the overall shape of what you see up in the air when they're flying around is a good indicator. That kind of curved outline with a thin tail that doesn't spread out, it's more likely to be a falcon. The V shape for the kite, and the really wide look for the eagles and the vultures. There are also owls in the raptor categories. So these will be nocturnal raptors. Now our true owls are going to be things like the screech owl, the great horned owl, which is this guy here on the right, the barred owl, which is the one here on the left. These guys are really good predators for nighttime. They've got some good adaptations for that, like the design of the face is really good for picking up sounds. Their eyes can't really move from left to right, so they have to be able to turn their head a lot more than other animals. But the barn owls aren't true owls, but we still call them owls because they're pretty similar. They have a very different shaped face and different beak. And their habitats are in trees and other forest settings, but without lots of barns like there used to be when more people farmed, they're lacking lots of nesting sites, and populations are actually decreasing because of the lack of barns. So we got our diurnal raptors. Those are the ones that, like the hawks and the vultures, that aren't going to be out during the day, and our nocturnal raptors, which are the owls found at night. And I hope that was helpful.